Hi, welcome to another episode of HPA Global Insights. Hope you all had a great summer. We're back with another edition, and today we have a new friend of mine that I met at Expo West this past year, Wilson Lau. He is the VP of NuHerbs. Wilson, welcome. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on, Jeff. I'm doing excellent, trying to stay cool in this heat wave and enjoying the end of summer and the beginning of fall.
So let's dive into this. For those that don't know you, Wilson, and your company, just give us a little introduction of what you guys do.
Yeah, NuHerbs was founded in 1979 by my grandmother and my parents. We were founded to supply her with the quality herbs that she wanted for her practice and needed for her practice. She comes from a TCM lineage called Minhe, and they just did a 30-part series in China, a 30-something part series in China about it. So if you're in China, you might want to track it down. Otherwise, it might be hard to come by. And we specialize in Chinese herbs and botanicals from the field level up and work with plantations, farms, and wildcrafters to source the highest quality botanicals, organic and pharmacopoeia grade. And recently, as you found out at Expo, we launched a new line called NuTraditions, focused on the retail segment. We really wanted to make traditional Chinese medicine accessible and convenient to match today's modern lifestyle. So we started off with two products. One is our Good Morning Sunshine, which is organic coffee infused with organic red ginseng extract, so that you don't have to remember to take your ginseng. You just automatically get it with every cup of coffee that you drink as you start your day, sort of to meet people's lifestyles and choices and sort of make it as easy as possible for people. And then we want you to end the night with our Hello Dreams, which is a traditional Chinese herbal formula that we modified combined with melatonin. So this is really easy to take right before bed, and it comes in the form of an oil strip. And the magic of this is that we're able to reduce 3 grams of our herbal formula down to less than 30 milligrams. So the know-how in that is really hard to come by, because you have to do a lot of maneuvering to sort of preserve the essence of the herb and herbal formula while trying to reduce the footprint that it fits into. So we've been doing, as an aside, under NuHerbs, we have a program called Bespoke Extracts, where we take the botanicals that we source and work with, that we have access and traceability to, and we help people make products or extracts or ingredients fit for their purpose. And this is really important when it comes to alternative delivery formats like gummies, beverages, and whatever it may people think of. So we've been doing a lot of work on that, utilizing our basket of herbs and then our know-how through the years of being in the industry. So we've been doing a lot of fun stuff, everything from field to R&D for people.
So Wilson, those that coffee you showed people, those were in K cups, right? Is that what those are called?
Yep, those are in K cups. And
Very cool.
the reason why we chose it is because we dose every K cup individually, so that we know that every cup will have the intended amount of organic ginseng extract delivered on a daily basis. Because I think sometimes the delivery format matters, especially if you want to get precision in there. And we really want to be precise and ensure that people are getting what they want to get and should get.
Yeah, it's very cool. I did live in China for a long time, and a lot of times when I would get sick with a cold or any of that stuff, I would always go to the TCM hospital and was very used to boiling the herbs and drinking the terrible drinking soup. But I always had great effect with those. And I always thought, gosh, there's so many wonderful Chinese medicinal herbs that are kind of, I don't want to say stuck, but they're in that kind of TCM environment that you would only get exposed to if you were a patient of a TCM practitioner or a doctor in China, or go to the hospital, something like that. But there are, in China, there's a classification for herbs in the Chinese pharmacopoeia. So there are a classification of herbs that are kind of common use in China. So you can go to the supermarket and buy ginseng and different things like that for soups. And then there's the classifications of health food type ingredients. And then there's the kind of ones that are more like medicine that you can only get from a hospital or doctor because there's potential side effects. And so, I mean, China has botanicals, herbals in terms of regulatory really set in place, whereas here, not so much. I think it really depends more on how you market, the botanical in America. But it's nice to see pulling some of that knowledge and some of those herbs that are very effective and pulling it into the supplement industry or the food industry and making it accessible to people.
Yeah, I think the key is making it accessible and also showing the benefits of it. Because I think if you start off with, Jeff, hey, you gotta, take this, but you gotta go spend half an hour boiling it, and you might not like the taste of it. Compliance is going to be really hard, and trial is going to be really hard, right? But if they have experienced the benefits of it, through something easier, when they need something that is more complex of an issue to address a more complex issue, they might now go back and say, hey, let me try those herbs. Let me try to go see a practitioner. Let me go see what I can do. And I'm willing to invest more time and effort into it because I know I believe in it. So I think part of it is really getting people trying it and seeing the benefits of herbs. And, botanicals is one of the fastest growing categories outside of stress and sleep, right? It's like botanicals is coming up as a whole class. I think a lot of people are turning back to nature and trying to see and understanding the benefits that their forefathers had and success they had with it. So I think it's very important to highlight the benefits and make it accessible.
Yeah, and that's definitely something you have done, and other TCM practitioners that brought herbals to America, encapsulated them. So most of the formulas you will get from a pharmacy or from a TCM practitioner here in America would be in probably a capsule, in some cases a powdered extract that you could just take directly. Whereas in China, my options were mostly, here's the herbs, you can boil them yourself, and they give you all the wrapped up packages to go home. I would always do that because I just wanted to get home. I was sick and I didn't feel good. Yeah. Or you could wait around and they would boil it for you, but you got to wait. And then they would boil it and put it in those plastic bags that are all connected and sealed. And then you go home and pop it and dump it in a thing and heat it up. But I just never wanted to wait. It was just such a pain.
The last thing you want to do when you're not feeling well is have to wait somewhere.
Hang around the hospital longer.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one thing that is very interesting to me, and I know to you as well. It's just the quality of sourcing. I mean, that's obvious, but in terms of botanicals around the world, is geo-authentic, or kind of where are these botanicals from, and verifying that these botanicals are actually grown in the environment they're native to. And that's something I would see in China, that like if a herbal ingredient got popular in America, everyone would just try to, just plant that, but maybe they're in North China and this is kind of an herbal that should be grown in South China or something like this. And I know the Chinese TCM Association used to do a lot of that, going out and educating farmers and cultivators to make sure they're, doing the right stuff for the quality part. So you get involved a lot in that, I know.
Yeah. And, I call it geo-authentic herbs when I use English, and then the traditional term is DDAL, which means authentic herbs. But I think the key is that it's not so much that they're growing in the wrong region, right? Because something that's supposed to grow in southern China can't physically grow in northern China unless you did a greenhouse and did a lot of manipulation. So the question is really, we'll use an example, like a real good example is maca, right? Native
Hmm.
to Peru, and then they moved it to Yunnan and they grew it there. The quality wasn't very good because it wasn't, although you could grow it there, like you said, right? The issue was the geoclimate or the microclimate, I should say, the microclimate isn't such as very similar to Peru, where it could maximize a lot of the other elements to sort of maximize the potency of the herb. So I think there's this rush, right, to get into certain things, and farmers are smart and they want to go, they want to make money and, be able to feed their families. And
Hmm.
they hear this herb's popular or that herb's popular. So what I really, through our 40 plus years of working with farmers and whatnot, we really try to counsel them and say, look, you know, hey, this is really, in short supply this year. The price is really high, you know, but don't chase it. Don't chase it, right? Like it's no different than the stock market, right? You chase the hot name or the hot stock, you could really easily get burnt if you don't understand the fundamentals behind it. But I think the key is really like, how do you work with them to maximize their benefit and make sure that they can, continue to work with you and grow the herbs that you need year in, year out. There's no benefit for us, and at least in our business model, for short-term partnerships, because we work with some of our partners for 30, 40 years now at this point, multi-generations. And
Mm.
it's really about how do we keep the consistency and work with the same partners so we can refine the systems that we're using to grow the herbs, and they grow it the way we want and then how we want, and they process it to not do anything that we don't want, more so than processing to what we want, because we take it nowadays to our co-man and then have them further process it. But it's really like, how do you have those relationships that people can trust you and know that, hey, if they go organic, that even though their yield might be lower, you'll make sure that they'll come out ahead, right? I think that's the key, is really a partnership and not really saying, hey, let's go do something quickly and then get out of it.
Yeah. Now, along with that, quality obviously is supply chain, and that's something that we've all been bashed over the head with lately. But kind of just something maybe people don't think about is, the fact that, China with, their zero policy for COVID, and the fact that China supplies, 70 to 80% of a lot of the vitamins and minerals and food additives and botanical extracts to the global market. Most people have not been able to get into China for a few years now. And, what kind of impacts are there, things that people should think about in terms of their relationships there, and the people that they knew? I know we talked on the phone earlier, and a lot of the connections I had, some of them have retired, and I didn't know during this 3 years that they're gone. And I was like, oh geez, and then who do I talk to now, because this person now is just retired? What are some thoughts from your side on that?
Yeah, I think COVID, has been beaten to a dead horse, but one of the things, unintended consequences, I think, of COVID is earlier retirement. And, a lot of people might retire a couple of years earlier than they were planning to. And because of that, a lot of the relationships you may have in China may have evaporated. But that's at the one-to-one level, where I think a lot of the quality issues really come in. A, who was the person, who was QA, who was in charge of QC, who was in charge of sourcing? Did one of those people retire? And
Yeah.
then, it's easy to understand, hey, my friend retired and I need to find someone else, right? Like you vet the whole system very carefully if you bring on a new vendor, right? But, knowing that someone retired or is no longer there in QA, well, you're going to have to make sure that you onboard the new QA person and have the understanding of what their expectations are and how seriously they take the quality system. Because quality systems are designed by people, and they're just pieces of paper, and they need to be implemented, and the people that
Hmm.
implement them must buy into them and have a great stake in it. And I think that's where having understanding and really good relationship with your partners will allow you to say, hey, what's going on over there? Does anyone, any of your key people retire? And get a really honest and opaque answer, because not opaque, but transparent answer.
Hmm.
Because what happens a lot of times is, maybe they didn't fully retire. Maybe they still are head of QA, but they're really not doing that much anymore. They handed it off to the next person in line. I think it's really having feet on the ground, and I think that's where we're lucky as NuHerbs, is that we have a QA team on the ground in China. So although I and my staff in the U.S. can't get into China, or won't go through the process of getting in China, the quarantine process, we have the same level of quality and safety because we have our own team on the ground. And I think that's very important. But if you don't have your own team on the ground, really knowing your vendors, what's going on over there, how do they look post-COVID, and will continue to look with zero COVID lockdown, and as things evolve in China, really understanding, you know, are they really the manufacturers of that ingredient, or are they sourcing that ingredient and making something else and offering it as a secondary offering? And really understanding, hey, you're like, hey, great, Shanghai's not under lockdown, right? I don't have any issues. But wait a second, they get that ingredient from Chengdu, it's under lockdown. Well, they're going to have supply chain issues. So really understanding who and what is really key to quality and supply chain nowadays, Jeff.
Mm, totally. Um, One of the things that was interesting I mentioned the Chinese Medicine Association before in Beijing, and I used to go on
Mhm.
trips with them occasionally and get exposed to a lot of wonderful people and farms and cultivators and processing areas and this and that. And we talked earlier, again on the phone, about um, the traditional preparation of TCM in terms of hands-on processing, where certain companies want, well, I want the herb cut into this size, or I want it in lengths of such and such, and they would do that a lot of times manually with big knives and different tools to do that. And we talked about technology. Where do you see technology playing into TCM moving forward into the future?
I think technology and the lack of labor is having huge impacts on traditional Chinese medicine, especially in the traditional herbal preparations or forms. Um, the reason why, like you said, is some of these forms take a lot of manual labor to get it to look a certain way, and there's traditional reasons for it. And nowadays, I might be able to control the water activity, so you no longer need to do that in a different manner. So there's ways to sort of technology will allow me to use a different form and still have the same benefit of that form. So I'll give you an example of something that we all might see. There's certain teas that people roll into balls. They call them pearls. And it's really a long teeth leaf, hand rolled into a ball, right? And it transports nicer, it looks nicer, and it has this unfurling effect, right? Really nice aesthetically. That takes a lot of manual labor. Whereas the same leaf, if you transport it and brew it, it would taste the same, right? But in crude preparation, there's a lot of times that where we want a certain form, because traditionally maybe rolling the balls would allow you to transport the leaves in a way that wouldn't allow them to break apart. But we have
Hmm.
ways nowadays of packaging it maybe to achieve the same effect. So I think a lot of times we have to look at, labor and then technology. How can we not disregard traditional knowledge, but really understanding why something was done, and then using a different format to achieve the same end? And I think that's where we really need to focus on to preserve the the essence and the quality and the potency of the herbs. Because what happens a lot is people don't understand, like, oh, that's just old people doing it the old fashioned way. Why in the heck would anyone do that, right? Well, there's a reason, right? People just don't do things just to do things, right? Like, and people don't get adapted just cause, right? Especially when it takes more work and labor. There's a very specific reason it was done, and to really understand the herbs and the herbal knowledge is something that is requires a lot of listening and learning. So in my position, I'm not a herbalist by training, but I listen a lot and ask a lot of questions, like why was it done this way? What benefits is it? What are we trying to achieve? And really, then you could use technology to sort of come to the same end and make sure and preserve that what they were trying to do with the traditional processing.
Yeah.
Or
So like you said, some of it could be aesthetics, and some of it could be quality issue that, for example, you mentioned green tea. So there's hand picked where people
Mhm.
physically go out there and pick the leaves, and the leaves, the whole leaf, everything gets picked, compared to a machine that, just basically rips the leaves off the bush, and they're jagged, and, they just don't look good. And, that's a cheaper, that's one that would be sold for less money, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think when it comes to things like quality, right? It's really one of those things that, as my friend Neil likes to say, is you have to really focus on the why, right? It's like, why are you really doing something? What are you trying to prevent, right?
Hmm.
And because quality can come in a lot of different forms, and it means a lot of different things, but it really needs to understand what the root cause is and understanding what the purpose is. What are you really trying to achieve? And is it a safety issue, or is it a potency issue, or is it an aesthetic issue, or a combination of all three?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's such an important question that the little kids usually bombard adults with, why, but it's so important, in our adult life too. When we're looking at things like this, it's, well, why, especially something that's got such a long tradition. It's like, well, was there a purpose to that? Why? That's always fundamental. But I've always wanted to see more and more TCM botanicals, because they've served me so well over the years living in China, just getting, relief from different ailments and common colds and different things. I was just amazed by it. To see more of that enter the mainstream. So I'm happy to see that you guys are doing that with your coffee and the strips for sleeping. Do you have any other plans to continue kind of down that road and putting these things on offer?
Yeah, we are looking at launching another couple more TCM focus formulas, like in the sleep strip, in that oral strip format. I think the tonic herb with ginseng was a great way to start. But as we develop this, and what we're calling as an energy or vitality system, we are thinking that there is opportunity to address other needs in the middle of the day. So, sleep and energy, sleep at the end, and rest, relaxing rest at the end of the day is essential. So starting your day properly. But I think there's other things that may fit well in the middle of the day that will, increase your energy levels and vitality, and also address other ailments that you may have, or just things that you like, right? It's,
Hmm.
I want to have this, maintain this healthy, you know, skin, whatever it may be. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. And like you said, we have a whole pharmacopoeia of herbs to choose from, and there's a lot of possibilities out there.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing more innovative products from you guys, and hopefully see you soon again at a show. I'm going to have, at the end, if anybody wants to check out your website or your products, we'll put that all at the end for people to click on and link to your business and see what you guys have. But Wilson, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and talking with us.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for having me on. And hopefully one day soon, we'll be able to have a share a beverage or meal in China. And once everything's opens back up.
Yeah, sounds good to me. All right, Wilson, we'll take care, and we'll talk again next time.
Will do. Thank you.